Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a really unique collection of source material. Think of it as a blend of deeply personal reflection, philosophical nudges, and practical exercises, all gathered under the broad umbrella of Soul Pancake.
That's right. We've got perspectives primarily from a physical education coach named Ortiz, offering a very grounded, actionable view, mixed with material attributed to Rainn Wilson's Soul Pancake project, which brings in, broader spiritual and artistic dimensions.
Yeah, it's definitely not a traditional academic text. It feels much more like an invitation to think and feel and question alongside someone who's wrestling with life's big ideas, purpose, creativity, emotions, faith, what it means to be truly alive. It's less about telling you what to think and more about prompting you to discover things for yourself.
Exactly. The material from Coach Ortiz is rooted in daily discipline and hard-won wisdom, almost like coaching for the soul, you could say. And the Soul Pancake elements are more expansive, yeah. Pulling from different traditions and using creative prompts to explore these kind of abstract concepts in a tangible way.
And our mission today is to dive into this rich material. We want to unpack the core ideas presented, find the surprising nuggets of insight, highlight the actionable prompts, and ultimately understand the multifaceted perspective on living a meaningful life that's woven through these sources.
It's like sifting through a treasure chest of thoughts and exercises. There's a lot here to ponder and potentially, put into practice.
Absolutely. So get comfortable. We're going to explore this together, keep it conversational, and see what insights surface for us and for you. Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with something pretty fundamental, something Coach Ortiz frames as the brain and the soul. And he kicks off this exploration by talking about the concept of truth. But it's not necessarily the kind of truth you find in a science textbook, is it?
No, not at all. His definition is very much about the here and now, the internal landscape. He actually says truth is now, reality, the present. It's about accepting, it's love, it's the kind preference of my heart.
That's a powerful distinction, isn't it? It implies that truth isn't just some objective fact external to us, but something we experience and perceive in the present moment, filtered through our heart and willingness to accept.
And he adds that truth evolves with experience and perspective.
Which acknowledges that our understanding isn't static. As we live and learn our personal truth, our lived reality, well, it can deepen or shift. He boils down what he knows for sure into three fundamental certainties. What were they again?
Appreciate every moment, live courageously, and come and go in peace.
Those feel less like intellectual truths and more like guiding principles for action and presence,
Totally. And his core philosophy is beautifully concise, live to love, love to live.
Simple but profound.
This idea of internal truth and presence naturally leads into that age-old question of reconciling reason and faith. Coach Ortiz navigates this by emphasizing being the light and staying focused on the present moment, the now.
And he observes that reason fails him when ego takes hold.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point, that our rational mind can actually be a hindrance when ego is driving.
Right. It suggests that ego distorts perception and pulls us away from that centered, peaceful state where his personal truth seems to reside.
And his faith-based belief offers a different perspective. Good deeds, performed now, carry on infinitely, helping humanity evolve.
So the impact ripples outwards, way beyond the immediate action.
Exactly. And central to this whole navigation is inquiry. He stresses asking the right questions initially, but maybe more importantly, asking better questions if you don't like the answers you get.
So it's like an iterative process of questioning, even within a framework of faith or personal truth. You keep digging.
You keep digging, yeah. It's not about settling for the first answer.
Okay, so from these internal states and principles, we move to the interplay of fate and free will. Coach Ortiz suggests that both determine what he calls luck.
Right, and he defines free will in a very practical way in this context.
Oh.
It's the act of diligently and appropriately preparing oneself for opportunities that arise.
Which he sees as fate.
Which he sees as fate. It's that classic adage, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Right?
So you don't just passively wait for fate. You actively use your free will to get ready for it.
And he links this dynamic to continuous evolution and growth, which requires both humble acceptance of opportunities, even the tiniest, he says,
Yeah.
and the fearless risk of failure. You have to be willing to try and maybe not succeed.
He emphasizes focusing on the process too, doesn't he? Like improving one small skill, doing simple things well.
Yes, that's key. And he identifies a critical point where free will gets lost,
Yeah.
when emotions take charge. To perform well, he says, you need to detach from those overwhelming emotions.
That's tough in practice, but makes sense in performance contexts.
Abs-
Now, the sources broaden this perspective to the collective fate of humanity, urging a shift from me-centric to ye-centric.
But this global shift starts internally, doesn't it? It begins with the individual, with the me.
Right, you can't change the world without changing yourself first.
Exactly. And the path towards this collective betterment is seen through altruism, using knowledge and creativity to solve problems, and crucially, raising strong and happy children. There's a really direct statement: happy people do not blow things up.
Wow, that really puts it bluntly. It suggests that fostering inner well-being is actually a key to global peace.
It does, and this circles back nicely to the power of thought. The source material highlights how thoughts profoundly affect reality.
Ortiz states it quite starkly. Thoughts cloak reality.
Yeah. If his mind is focused on purpose, his reality is calm, focused, and peaceful. If doubt and questions creep in, he becomes scattered and prone to mistakes. So our internal state, shaped by our thoughts, acts like a filter for how we experience the external world.
And prayer is presented as a tool to manage this, allowing for reflection and listening to the peaceful preference in my heart.
It seems like it impacts reality by reinforcing the idea that happiness is always a possibility. It's not necessarily about changing external circumstances through petition,
Right.
but more about shifting one's internal perspective to recognize that ever-present potential for happiness, even amidst difficulty.
The mind in this framework can also be a significant enemy, though.
Oh, definitely. Especially when the ego is in control. The ego, he says, will always question happiness.
So how do you keep that cynicism in check, that voice of doubt and negativity?
The advice is pretty direct.
Mm-hmm.
Consciously recognize those ruminating thoughts and actively refocus the mind on purpose. It requires deliberate effort. You have to steer away from the negativity.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the soul itself. The sources delve into what drains it and what recharges it.
Coach Ortiz points to self-importance and self-loathing as the primary drainers, two sides of the ego coin, perhaps.
Interesting connection, yeah.
What recharges it is service to others, laughter, good rest, and healthful meals. It's a combination of selfless action, joy, and just basic physical well-being.
So how is the soul defined from this perspective, then? What is it?
Well, it's described as the part that knows what is truly right and good. It embodies the positive virtues that we strive to evolve towards.
So it's like our better nature, our guiding compass.
Something like that. And the choice is framed as nurturing the soul through peaceful thoughts and helpful actions now, or devolving, being controlled by the primitive, fearful, and doubting brain.
The sources acknowledge that the world presents both beauty and horror simultaneously, which is very true.
Yeah. And the task then isn't necessarily to solve all the external chaos, but to stay focused on one's purpose, spreading light, increasing the good, and not allowing the chaos to distract or consume you.
Can the soul be killed? Does he address that?
He says he doesn't know, but he emphasizes it can be healed.
That idea of the soul's resilience is really key, isn't it? It's a call to continuous self-care and positive action.
Definitely. And the soul scribble exercise mentioned in the Rainn Wilson material is a really cool, creative way to engage with this abstract concept. It asks you to visualize and depict your soul.
So you have to confront what that part that knows what is truly right and good might look or feel like for you.
Exactly. It makes it personal.
Now, the Rainn Wilson Soul Pancake material expands this with a broader philosophical view connecting art, faith, and science.
Right. It proposes that these aren't actually separate domains, but different expressions of some divine creative energy that compels us towards creation, love, deep thinking, presence, service, ultimately being fully human.
And this creative force is contrasted with what?
With close-hearted, selfish animal materialism.
Ah, okay. It's echoing Einstein, isn't it? He's quoted as saying, religions, arts, and sciences are branches of the same tree, all working towards ennobling man's life and leading to freedom.
Yeah, it frames life itself as fundamentally an artistic and spiritual journey.
And that Teilhard de Chardin quote really flips the script. Not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience.
Whoa! That suggests our spiritual nature is primary, and this human life is just the temporary context for that existence. That's a big shift in perspective.
It really is. This ties into the Baha'i concept presented, humanity as one united family regardless of external differences, and the idea that all religions stem from one true source of love, the Creator. It's a call for unity at a really fundamental level.
And a crucial component of this is the concept of individual investigation of truth. It presented not just as an option, but an obligation.
An obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To seek truth for yourself rather than passively accepting beliefs from your upbringing or community, it really empowers the individual on their spiritual and life journey.
That resonates with the Lakota Sioux concept mentioned, Wakantanka, the Great Spirit, or the Great Mystery, as this animating, pervasive, yet ultimately unknowable force running through all things. It points to a similar, fundamental, unifying divine energy.
And the sources emphasize that knowing this divine or sacred isn't primarily intellectual, it's experiential. It's a visceral, heart-centered way compared to knowing love or music or memory. It's a felt sense, not just a reasoned conclusion.
The idea of God as love is presented, but then the definition just explodes outward, doesn't it? Encompassing everything from gravity, light, and electricity to wind and the color green, chaos theory, music, even the ineffable tiny sadness we hold in our hearts.
Yeah, it suggests the divine isn't separate from the universe and our experience of it, but interwoven with everything. It's everywhere, in everything.
This expansive view highlights the need for art, faith, and philosophy to intersect, to grab and guide us and give our lives meaning and hope. It's about finding meaning through the integration of these different ways of understanding the world and our place in it.
Seeking this integration means bringing work, faith, beliefs, family, art, friends together as a single expression of who we are, branches from the same tree. It's a call for authenticity and wholeness across all aspects of life.
No more compartmentalizing.
Exactly. Art and faith in particular are seen as revealing something beyond the beyond, connecting us to the world behind the one that we see and taste and feel, tapping into the great mystery. The Rumi quote, "The true work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection," really supports this art as a glimpse of something greater.
Other quotes directly equate art with worship, suggesting that perfecting one's art brings one closer to the divine and that wielding a paintbrush can be an act of prayer.
In Paul Gauguin's quote, "I shut my eyes in order to see," feels like a perfect summation of this section, doesn't it? Sometimes you need to look inward or beyond the obvious surface reality to perceive the deeper spiritual or creative truths.
It does. And this section, perhaps more than any other, seamlessly blends these abstract concepts with practical exercises. The sidewalk scribe, for example, taking your personal philosophy and making it a public, physical act with chalk.
Or the playlist for people watching, turning it just observing a crowd into a moment of connection with the souls we share the world with. And those redefine it prompts, like spirituality is, spirituality isn't. Those are direct invitations for you, the listener, to engage with these ideas personally.
It forces you to consider, based on all these perspectives and your own experience, how do you define spirituality? Is it traditional, or maybe does it encompass a broader engagement with life's mysteries and connections? Robert C. Solomon's definition, spirituality is the thoughtful love of life, offers a beautifully simple, inclusive possibility.
And Thomas Merton's challenging thought, a life is either all spiritual or not spiritual at all, shaped by the end you live it for, ask us to consider if our daily actions and ultimate goals are aligned with this spiritual nature, if indeed we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Wow, it's a lot to ponder right from the start.
Okay, moving from those foundations of being, the sources then explore art and creativity, not just as hobbies, but as essential components of a meaningful life.
Coach Ortiz's definition is pretty straightforward. Art is simply a vehicle for creativity, anything that channels the creative force.
Right. But the Rainn Wilson source adds another layer, calling art the act of triggering deep memories of what it means to be fully human.
That one resonates powerfully, doesn't it? It's not just about making something new. It's about accessing and expressing something fundamental to our shared humanity.
Yeah, definitely. Coach Ortiz shares his personal connection, emphasizing music. He finds listening incredibly powerful, noting that while knowing the artist's intention adds context, the art itself communicates directly, its message shifting with his own mood, experience, and perspective over time.
And he offers a really concrete look into his world with his list of 5 pieces of art that stimulate my brain. It's fascinating to see what these pieces mean to him.
Let's dig into that. First, Autumn Harvest by Maynard Dixon. What does that evoke for him?
For him, it evokes accomplishment. The message is clear and practical. Do what needs to be done. Do the important things. And critically, don't do more, do less better. It's about focused effort on what truly matters.
I like that. Do less, better. Okay, next.
The Kiss by Gustavo Klimt is about amor, love. It's a reminder to prioritize connection. Make time for each other, listen to each other, take care of each other, grow together, not apart. Simple, yet so essential for relationships.
Absolutely. Then there's Girasols by Diego Rivera, Sunflowers.
That one brings up gratitude. He sees it as appreciating the beauty that exists in even the darkest of moments. And the message extends to action, focusing on the helpers in times of chaos, working with them, and striving to be an everyday hero yourself.
Find the helpers, be a helper. Got it. Number 4.
Summer Storm over Northern New Mexico by Tony Abeda. This one sounds dynamic. The feeling is, live now, don't wait for the perfect moment. It's a call to action. Embrace the storm, go outside, play, and help others doing the same.
And this painting is linked to a deeper discussion of courage, right?
Yes. Facing fear, laziness, apathy, unfriendliness. He frames challenging situations as opportunities to move into the learning zone, adapting to discomfort, while avoiding the panic zone, where growth stops.
And being fearless isn't the absence of fear.
Exactly. It's the willingness to feel it. Bravery is a learned behavior, something you train for, like running back into the fire, accepting that you will make mistakes along the way. That's a powerful reframing of fear and courage.
It really is. Okay, finally, number 5.
Pele by Andy Warhol. For him, it's about learning from greatness. The message: stand on the shoulders of greatness, find someone successful, learn how they did it, copy their methods. Success leaves clues.
But there's a caveat, isn't there?
Yes. He adds that you need to learn everything inside the box first before you can effectively color outside it. Master the fundamentals before breaking the rules.
These interpretations aren't just about the art itself. They're really insights into his philosophy of life, work, and growth, seen through the lens of art.
Totally. Which leads naturally to the question, is artistic ability learned or inherent? Coach Ortiz's answer is firm. It's learned, like any skill. You develop basic skills, then use tools to create.
He introduces this concept of a creative twin. What's that about?
It's anyone who tries to do what he does, be creative in all their endeavors. It's like a partner in the process, someone who sees creative opportunities everywhere, turning even mundane tasks into acts of creation.
Interesting idea. And he feels a strong connection between God and creativity.
Yeah, he sees a creative force working through him, helping him become his best self, find happiness, evolve, let go of ego, and focus on spreading light. The Rainn Wilson source reinforces this too, seeing art as worship that reveals the divine radiance.
So where, then, is the line between inspiration and imitation? How do you navigate that?
Coach Ortiz says it lies in the motives. Is it driven by genuine passion, or are you just trying to make a cheap copy or do someone else's bidding?
Okay, and inspiration, where does that come from?
Inspiration, he feels, comes from immersing yourself in the light of great mentors and inspired lives. Original ideas, for him, aren't something he forces. They come to him when he gets out of my own way.
Suggesting a process of allowing instinct and the subconscious to distill ideas after he's wrestled with a problem consciously.
Exactly. He's not overly concerned with being original just for originality's sake. His drive is self-improvement and sharing good ideas, openly admitting to stealing or synthesizing ideas from others, seeing his work as building upon a collective foundation.
Which aligns with that Montaigne quote about bees gathering from flowers but making their own honey. It's about transformation.
Right. Transforming borrowed elements into something new and personal.
This naturally brings up competition versus cooperation and creativity. How does he see that?
Well, the drive to be original can lead to competition, which is beneficial when it pushes for improvement, but detrimental when it fosters unhealthy comparison. He definitely prefers cooperation, helping others evolve.
Seeing teaching and helping others surpass him as a form of personal transcendence. That's quite selfless.
It is.
Why the fundamental need to create, though? His answer.
It's simple. Because it makes me feel good. He sees it as inherently better than destroying or merely consuming. Creation over consumption.
Is a touch of insanity necessary for creative genius?
He says no, but courage is absolutely essential. The courage to explore the icky parts, the scary parts inside me, the difficult emotional or psychological landscapes we often avoid. That's where he finds the gold and makes significant progress.
So it's about emotional bravery, not necessarily instability.
Precisely. And cultivating creativity is seen as a discipline, not just waiting for a spontaneous urge. He aims for daily creative output, emphasizing the need for empty space and minimizing inputs to maximize output.
He notes you don't need to feel creative to start. Getting started creates the mood. I like that.
Yeah, action precedes feeling. Factors that fuel his creativity include a rested mind, a peaceful outlook, and starting the day with natural sounds like birds rather than, say, traffic or sirens. It highlights the importance of cultivating both internal calm and a supportive external environment.
And returning to the power of music.
He speaks of its ability to transport him, evoking memories, smells, tastes, emotions, and uplifting the soul. Live music is particularly impactful for him.
Bob Marley's music is singled out.
Yes, for its powerful messages and emotion, inspiring personal and collective evolution, making the world better. He notes that both the music itself and the lyrics can carry profound power. The Rainn Wilson source adds that music is a basic human need, like food and shelter, capable of keeping demons at bay, and calls beautiful music the art of the prophets, a pleasant present from God.
Wow. The soul pancake material includes several exercises and questions here too. Artgasm, defined as an overwhelming feeling from exceptional art. That's a fun term for a real phenomenon.
Totally. And exercises like art at arm's reach, creating art from scavenged items, and the blackout poet, chiseling a poem from existing text, reinforce the idea of creativity as finding potential in unexpected places.
Or revealing what's already there, like Michelangelo finding the statue inside the stone.
Exactly. The various definitions of creativity itself highlight its multifaceted nature, ability, imagination, ingenuity, even deceptiveness.
And the quotes provide different lenses. Rainn links its opposite to cynicism. From Rainn connects it to the courage to let go of certainties.
Bradbury advises against overthinking. Thinking is the enemy of creativity. Rainn calls the creative adult a child who has survived.
And Picasso's provocative statement, every act of creation is first an act of destruction, suggests that creation often involves dismantling existing forms or ideas.
This section concludes, again, with a redefine it. Creativity isn't prompt. After exploring all these facets, it asks you, the listener, to synthesize them and articulate your own understanding of what creativity truly means in your life.
All right, our journey through these sources next takes us into experiences and emotions, exploring how we navigate our inner world and learn from what happens to us.
It kicks off with a powerful call to attention and wonder. Einstein's quote, "He who can no longer pause in wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead," sets a pretty high bar for engaging with the world.
Yeah, no kidding. Loris Harrow reinforces this with a practical application. Pay clear attention to everything. Notice what no one else notices, and you'll know what no one else knows. It implies that deep observation is actually a path to unique understanding.
Coach Ortiz shares things he'd personally like to unlearn. Gossip and negative chatter, both indulging in it and listening to it. And he wishes he knew more about positively motivating others.
One of his hardest lessons learned is about control. What was that again?
He realized he cannot control what happens externally, but he can control his experience of it. That fundamental shift in focus is so crucial for navigating life's inevitable difficulties, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial. A mind-blowing realization for him was the brilliance and sophistication of the past, the wisdom of great mentors, and the immense capacity of humankind. He emphasizes learning from history as a way to understand where we need to go in the future.
But he admits to a repeated mistake: getting distracted by modern comforts and convenient indulgences.
We can probably all relate to that one. What's his proposed solution?
Practice moderation. Learn to be happy with less and deliberately choose the hard way for an easier life.
Interesting. The hard way now leads to an easier life later.
Seems to be the idea. This brings us to navigating mistakes more broadly. The only unforgivable mistakes, in his view, are the ones we refuse to learn from. He's actually grateful for mistakes that forced him to discover something new or improve.
His biggest mistakes, he finds, often stem from what? Emotional reactions, clouding judgment.
Yes, that, distraction, letting his ego get offended, or simply failing to act what he calls non-action.
Okay. The sources offer insight into knowing when to quit and when to forge ahead. How does he frame that?
Coach Ortiz suggests quitting when focus is lost, learning to recognize that state early and just returning to the task later. Forge ahead when making those little tiny breakthroughs or when the task is challenging but not debilitatingly difficult.
He wishes he had stopped overindulging sooner and recognized the importance of doing the little things right earlier in life.
Yeah. The key to longevity in any pursuit, for him, is moderation and consistency. The idea of little and often over the long haul and finding balance.
The hypothetical questions from the source material are designed to provoke deep thought, like, what would you try if you knew you could not fail? Coach Ortiz's aspiration.
Open his own school.
And the incredibly poignant, difficult question, What would you say if you had 60 seconds to talk a stranger out of taking his or her life? His immediate response is stark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's powerful. Remind them of those who died yesterday who would desperately want to trade places. It's an immediate call to value the present moment of life, however difficult.
And the Viktor Frankl quote added there, the last of human freedoms is the ability to change, offers such a profound layer to this, suggesting that even in the direst circumstances, internal freedom, the freedom to choose your attitude, remains.
It really does. The sources delve into controlling emotions too. Elizabeth Stewart Phelps notes the distinction. Uncontrolled emotion weakens reflective power, while controlled emotion strengthens it.
Coach Ortiz identifies anxiety as the emotion he wishes he could control better. He notes he performs significantly better when calm and patient.
Because anxiety causes rushing and poor decisions.
So what are his strategies for handling anxiety?
It involves recognizing the feeling, resetting, taking deep breaths, and actively channeling that adrenaline into productive performance. He calls this intensity, focusing the fear-based energy.
Right, using the energy instead of being overwhelmed by it.
Exactly. Phrases like milking the moment, glean magic from every moment, embrace the storm, and go around describe actively engaging with the difficult emotion and redirecting its energy. He also notes simply being excited to see another day as a fundamental perspective shift.
Revenge is discussed too. He admits it feels good initially.
Because we feel we are avenging a perceived wrong. But, crucially, the feeling never lasts. His counter is simple and empowering. If I choose not to be offended, then I haven't been.
Wow. It's about reclaiming your power over your emotional reaction, taking ownership.
Completely. Forgiveness and presence are tightly interwoven in this framework. To forgive is to evolve. To fail to recall past hurts is to be present. To be present is to be happy. The present is pleasant.
So holding on to past grievances, unforgiveness, binds you to the past and prevents you from experiencing peace and happiness in the now.
That's the core idea. Happiness is explicitly framed as a choice. While you cannot control others or external events, you absolutely can control your internal reaction to them.
Okay. What emotion does Coach Ortiz fear the most?
Anger. No matter how justified, he sees it as ultimately only hurting oneself and others. Anger is danger. Anger is poison. Have no enemy within. Strong words.
Very strong. How does he handle hate, which he links to anger?
It requires a disciplined approach. Detached, non-emotional confrontation, stepping back, breathing, seeking understanding, finding common ground, problem solving, and resolving to be at peace with oneself. If happiness is the goal, harboring hate, even if justified, is simply beneath me.
The most impactful expression of hate for him was his own anger.
Yes, recognizing his anger as a weakness and forgiveness as a strength was transformative for him. Confronting his anger led him to learn to be curious instead of furious, reinforcing desired peaceful behaviors and making his life inherently more pleasant.
That curious instead of furious line is great.
Isn't it? And the Pop Your Problems exercise from the Rainn Wilson source is a playful yet potentially cathartic way to deal with anger or frustration, writing problems on balloons and popping them. A bit of symbolic release.
I like that. Okay, the 5 risks I haven't had the guts to take yet. List from Coach Ortiz offers a personal example of confronting fear and inaction. What's on his list?
Visiting the other 5 continents, starting his school, L'Escuela de Ponche, learning how to ski, visiting every Major League Baseball stadium, and reaching out to living mentors he admires.
And for each risk, he articulates the worst that could happen.
Right.
But then immediately provides a solution or reframing.
Exactly. Like, the worst part of reaching out to mentors is potential rejection. His solution: make myself worthy of worthy people. It shifts the focus from the potential outcome to his own character and preparedness. It's very proactive.
The beauty in the bland exercise is another interesting one, a call to active observation.
Yeah, encouraging you to use a camera, or just your eyes, to find beauty in ordinary everyday places. It's tied to the quote, "Those who don't believe in magic will never find it," suggesting that actively looking for the extraordinary in the ordinary is how you discover it.
What experience does Coach Ortiz most look forward to?
Being totally and completely enveloped in the moment, losing sense of time and self, being one with the moment and other beings, completely free from sadness or worry. It's that state of pure, absorbed presence or flow.
He notes that experiences rarely match expectations, though.
Right. And the advice here isn't to lower expectations, but not to base happiness on them. Instead, bring passion to the moment itself and lend our happiness and joy to those around us. Be a source, not a drain. Be a fountain, not a drain.
The single experience that most transformed him was what?
The realization that this physical life is just a tiny little moment, but the wisdom and lessons shared within it can illuminate paths long after. It's about the lasting impact of a brief existence.
One eye-opening experience he believes every person should have involves a sunrise or sunset.
Yes, specifically the majesty of a northern New Mexico sunrise or sunset. He describes the energy, beauty, connection with the Creator, a sense of oneness with nature, humility compared to vastness, and profound gratitude for another day, prompting him to do something with it.
It underscores that magic isn't reserved for monumental events. It can be found in simple daily occurrences if we pay attention and appreciate them. Do the little things great to prepare for larger challenges.
Precisely. The quotes in this section are also powerful. Elbert Hubbard suggests God won't look for accolades but for scars, implying growth comes through struggle. And Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. notes that a mind stretched by new experience never goes back to its old dimensions.
Good ones. Finally, the section offers a definition of happiness, encompassing good fortune, well-being, joy, pleasure, felicity, along with various synonyms. The quotes provide diverse perspectives, Aristotle seeing it as the ultimate purpose.
Dumas linking it to comparison and experiencing the full spectrum of emotion, Schweitzer offering a humorous good health and bad memory, and W. Baron Wolf suggesting it's found in the process of living a full, busy life, not by chasing it as a specific goal.
And like other sections, it concludes with a redefine it. Happiness is, happiness isn't. Prompt, encouraging you to synthesize these ideas and your own experiences into a personal definition. Okay, our exploration continues into the vital territory of love, sex, and relationships, connecting deeply.
It opens with a really beautiful, pragmatic quote about marriage from Heather Armstrong. Marry your best friend, someone who makes you laugh, who you want to make it work with, and who moves you like singing hymns to God. It highlights deep companionship and shared purpose.
That's lovely. Coach Ortiz defines love as the fuel for the soul. He makes a deeply personal statement, Poncho is love, implying love embodies his deepest connection, maybe to his wife or partner.
Yeah, seems likely. He believes unconditional love is not a myth, attainable when egos are set aside, and emphasizes that love is always a choice. While kindness can extend to strangers, true love, for him, requires knowing someone inside and out.
He discusses the relationship between love, sex, and intimacy. How does he see those connecting?
He says sex is an animal impulse, whereas making love is connecting at a deeper level. Sex focuses on the selfish focus, while making love benefits both partners. True connection, he feels, affects the soul. Sex is presented as one way to express love and intimacy, not the totality of it.
He wishes for more open discussion about sex and sexuality during childhood.
Stressing the need for healthy, mutually benevolent habits to avoid developing selfish or unhealthy ones. The Rainn Wilson source adds that sexuality is simply the way God chooses for us to be here, integrating it into our fundamental being.
The Hot for Humility exercise provides a playful way to consider attraction beyond the physical. Coach Ortiz lists non-physical traits that turn him on. Great sense of humor, humility, intelligence, friendliness, and passion. It shifts the focus to character and personality.
It does. Why do so many marriages fail, according to Ortiz? He points directly to ego, putting self first rather than the relationship, making things about myself, and becoming unhappy when personal desires aren't met, which leads to seeking fulfillment elsewhere.
His perspective is that we should be happy regardless of external circumstances or what a partner does. Giving more within the relationship actually benefits the relationship.
And the more the relationship benefits, the richer we become internally. Preparation for marriage involves putting egos aside and planning for a life together.
Divorce, he suggests, isn't necessarily failure in itself.
No, but the result of a failure to grow together. Since we can only change ourselves, if one partner evolves and the other refuses, divorce might be the necessary path. If the partner evolves and you refuse, well, then the failure is on us.
He doesn't believe marriage is outdated, though.
No. While single life can be happy, he feels together is better, summarized by the proverb, go alone to go fast, go together to go far. Partnership enables a deeper, longer journey.
These points are directly echoed in the Rainn Wilson questions. Why do marriages fail? Is divorce a failure? Is marriage outdated? They prompt direct engagement with these difficult questions for the listener.
Exactly. Family relationships are viewed through a lens of honesty and care. Coach Ortiz feels his family sees the real me because he's comfortable singing his mind, though he tends to hide his few troubles to be self-reliant.
Keys to friendship with family? Or anyone?
mutual kindness, trust, and respect. Being a good listener, asking thoughtful questions, and withholding judgment are also crucial for deep connection.
He believes you should never stop caring what your parents think unless they demonstrate negative traits like being mean, selfish, or pessimistic. He's grateful his parents embody kindness, selflessness, and optimism.
Attraction, he feels, originates internally. Our vibe attracts our tribe. The energy and attitude you project influence the people you draw into your life.
He believes you can learn from every person you encounter by bringing out the best in them, rather than competing or comparing. Pursuing excellence, both for yourself and in how you interact with others, is key.
And learning to listen and ask better questions leads to just a little better understanding of others.
A healthy relationship, in this view, has no protocol.
Right. It's a space where you are free to be your true selves. Agreement isn't required, but mutual understanding is. Successful communication involves being kind while we speak the truth. Earning someone's friendship and trust makes them more receptive to what you have to say.
Herodotus' quote, "A hidden connection is always stronger than an obvious one," speaks to those unseen bonds of understanding and trust.
Exercises like pen pal revival and double shot dare encourage deliberate acts of connection and kindness towards others, whether reviving old connections or making spontaneous new ones.
And Hillary Stanton Zinn's quote offers a poignant perspective on the vulnerability of love.
Yeah. The risk of love is loss. The price of loss is grief. But the pain of grief is only a shadow when compared with the pain of never risking love. It's a powerful argument for choosing vulnerability and connection despite the potential for pain.
Definitely. The concept of a soulmate is explored, defined not just as a perfect match, but someone who strongly resembles another in attitude and beliefs, a kindred spirit.
And the quotes on soulmates provide fascinating variations. Sam Keen says it's seeing an imperfect person perfectly. Rumi suggests lovers don't meet, they are in each other all along.
And Elizabeth Gilbert offers a challenging view. A true soulmate is a mirror, reflecting you back to yourself to prompt personal growth.
Right. Not always easy. Like other core concepts, this section concludes with a redefine it. A soulmate is, a soulmate isn't. Inviting you to synthesize these perspectives and your own experiences to define what this concept means in your life.
All right, shifting gears now, we explore virtues and vices, the inner struggle, delving into the forces within us that shape our actions and character.
The section introduces the concept of eudaimonia, or flourishment, defined as nurturing one's potential, feeling fulfilled, and creating a meaningful life. The source outlines 4 steps: getting to the core of trauma, recognizing vice not just as weakness, and finding ways to be of service.
Hate is examined, with powerful quotes highlighting its destructive nature for the hater. That's Coretta Scott King.
Right. And paradoxically, its ability to provide twisted purpose to an empty life, according to Freehoffen.
Does Coach Ortiz think hate affects physical well-being?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He says it absolutely destroys physical well-being, noting that negative emotions hurt us physically. His strategy for handling hate is that disciplined, detached approach again. Confront it non-emotionally, step back, breathe, seek understanding and calming ground, problem solve, and resolve to be at peace with oneself. If happiness is the goal, harboring hate is beneath me.
He views hate as a learned behavior.
Often, yeah. Stemming from perceived harm or personal suffering. The path to ending this suffering, he suggests, is to learn to forgive. The most impactful experience with hate for him was, again, his own anger. Recognizing his anger as weakness and forgiveness as strength led him to confront his tendency towards fury and consciously choose curiosity and peaceful behaviors instead.
The reverse pickpocket exercise from the Rainn Wilson source sounds intriguing. It's a clever, anonymous way to practice generosity.
Exactly. Rooted in the idea that real generosity lies in the act of giving and expecting nothing in return. Slip some money into a stranger's bag without getting caught.
Okay. Selfishness comes up. Coach Ortiz admits he is selfish with his time.
Yeah, recognizing its finite nature and the need to make the most of it, carefully weighing commitments.
The Michael Jordan quote adds an interesting layer. To be successful, you have to be selfish. And once you get to your highest level, then you have to be unselfish. Suggesting maybe selfishness plays a role in focused self-improvement initially?
Perhaps. But service becomes paramount later. Despite guarding his time, Ortiz states he is always willing to help, to roll up my sleeves, and do what I can with what I have where I am.
Greed is defined simply as
wanting more than what we need.
Are there healthy attachments? Coach Ortiz believes so it's okay to be attached to good habits, even suggesting we should be slaves to them.
How do we keep our wants from infringing on others' rights? His approach is consciously choosing to want less. He seeks happiness for himself, but expects little from others, focusing on increasing good in the world without demanding a response, though he is grateful when it happens. Meister Eckhart's quote supports this: "To be serene and pure needs but one thing, detachment."
The urge to purge exercise is a practical application of this detachment, tackling the inertia around getting rid of unneeded stuff.
hmm And Coach Ortiz's dramatic list of 5 things I would cut off my little toe for vividly illustrates his deepest desires and values. Ending suffering, reconnecting with cherished family members and experiences, and experiencing the wider world. It puts abstract values into a very visceral context.
Why the obsession with talking about other people? Coach Ortiz links it to comparison, focusing on others instead of our own purpose and life's work. It doesn't help.
Right. He finds listening and asking good questions is the way to understand human complexity. Gossip, he feels, is a waste of time, even if true. He regrets talking behind others' backs almost immediately.
Marie Curie's quote offers a remedy. Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas.
Nice. The bathroom humor exercise is a simple way to inject lightheartedness into the world, leave a funny message for a stranger. Tied to E. Cummings' quote, "The most wasted of all days is the one without laughter."
Lies are discussed. Coach Ortiz admits he's glad to tell lies that protect his time from commitments that don't contribute to his happiness or remove him from negative people.
But a lie he regrets telling was to himself, believing that external things like looks, popularity, success, and possessions were the keys to happiness. He has discovered truth. Real happiness comes from being his best self, being brave, and using his talents to help others.
He adds that taking care of himself, balance, rest, play, prayer, savoring is essential and part of the work.
He feels lies that harm others also harm him, and believes we shouldn't lie just to protect feelings. Kindness combined with truth is needed to help others grow.
Flaws are acknowledged. Coach Ortiz is bothered by procrastinating important work, by inventing things, and not always practicing moderation. He feels like a hypocrite when he fails to choose peace, patience, or the courage to do right.
He's glad he didn't sacrifice his happiness or integrity for success or money, choosing to be a man of value instead. Kafka's quote, "Evil is whatever distracts," offers a broad definition of what pulls us away from our purpose and true north.
And this section, like others, ends with redefine it. Evil is, evil isn't, inviting a personal contemplation of what constitutes negative force or action in one's own life and the world. Okay, from focusing on virtues and vices, we turn inward to introspection, reflection, and identity, looking within.
This section begins with the powerful idea that true happiness is an internal discovery. Quoting David Lynch, "True happiness is not out there. True happiness lies within."
Meditation is presented as a path to this inner happiness.
Yeah, directing awareness within to transcend intellect and access the source of thought, described as an ocean of pure bliss. This internal happiness, unlike external pleasures, grows and does not fade.
Mahatma Gandhi's quote supports this, suggesting that in silence, the soul finds its path in clear light, resolving what is elusive into crystal clearness. Silence and introspection illuminate understanding.
Secrets are explored through Dr. Paul Tournier's quote, "Nothing makes us so lonely as our secrets."
And the Stash a Secret exercise offers a symbolic act of releasing a secret by writing it down and anonymously leaving it in a bookstore book. Kind of mischievous.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Gut instincts, described as rapid, unconscious decisions, are discussed with a personal regret from Coach Ortiz. Not trusting his gut and being by his brother's side during a sobriety attempt, held back by fear in his own haze. It's a reminder of the cost of ignoring that inner knowing.
How to be confident without being egotistical. Coach Ortiz's simple answer.
Think of yourself less. It's about shifting focus from self-importance to purpose or service.
His biggest flaw is fooling himself, while his greatest strengths are perspective, detachment, and the ability to listen. He emphasizes that his ego must be kept in check on a daily basis, and that leadership isn't a title, but something he must earn every day.
Reflecting on life's brevity is presented as a catalyst. Recognizing how brief and tiny this lifetime is, urges us to make the most of our time, talents, and treasure today, spending them wisely.
The Rainn Wilson source includes listing 5 prayers that haven't been answered yet. Coach Ortiz's list reveals deep compassion, doesn't it?
Absolutely. End to suffering, enlightenment for all beings, end to hunger, thirst, end to hate, end to greed. These are prayers for collective well-being, not personal gain.
His sense of right and wrong has evolved significantly over time.
Yeah, he moved from valuing acquisition, pleasure, and leisure and seeing life's purpose in having more and better to believing hard work, creating, doing, and meditating through discomfort are the path to happiness if the work is meaningful. Now, it's wrong to have and do more, and right to have and do less better. It's that shift from adding to chiseling away.
Rebellion is important to him, specifically when?
When called to stand up for others, or what's right, facing fears and demonstrating courage, he sees practicing on small challenges as preparation for bigger ones.
An unwavering belief he holds is that all beings have inherent goodness and the capacity to learn, improve, and grow.
Right, so effective teaching then is about coaxing, recognizing, encouraging, and reinforcing these positive potentials.
A significant childhood idea he unlearned was that he was special simply by existing.
He learned that nobody owes him anything, and he is responsible for his life's outcomes. Opportunity, skill, talent, intelligence, and grace must all be earned, everything earned.
Finding calm in a chaotic world involves setting daily intentions and adhering to habits and routines. Mentors also help cool my crazy.
Being in the moment means losing sense of time, getting out of the mind, and focusing completely on the task at hand. He feels most reflective early in the morning when his mind is fresh.
And the mute your mouth, cease your chatter exercise proposes spending a day without speaking, solely listening, as an experiment in perception and presence. That sounds challenging.
Very challenging.
Next, the sources bravely tackle God and religion, seeking understanding.
This section begins by defining prayer in various ways, from addressing God to simple earnest requests, a practice, or even a slight chance. George Bernard Shaw's quote offers a cynical view most people just beg, while Gandhi calls it the most potent instrument of action. William P. Merrill links prayer to music.
The Rainn Wilson source suggests that life itself has no inherent meaning. It is up to us to create it. It also notes that we suffer from wanting what we don't have and fearing the loss of what we do have.
When approaching old religions, the advice isn't to discard them entirely, but to build and extend them, focusing on shedding the old corrupt bureaucracy. This implies that the core principles might be valuable, but the institutions and interpretations may need reform.
The connection between art and worship is reinforced again here.
Yes, the act of creating art is the same as worship, and the attempt to define the human experience universally is a spiritual pursuit.
Challenging comfort zones is presented as essential for growth. Brian Tracy notes that growth requires being willing to feel awkward or uncomfortable. Free thinking, according to Leo Tolstoy, is using one's mind without prejudice or fear, which is essential for right thinking.
Interpreting religious texts is a key discussion point. The Rainn Wilson source suggests Scripture is both a veil and a revelation, simultaneously hiding and revealing. Voltaire warns against literal translation, stating, "The letter kills and the spirit gives life."
Coach Ortiz advocates looking for common themes and fundamental principles across texts, testing them, and adopting those that serve peace. He feels Scripture must be adapted to the present, not taken literally.
Right, because it reflects the perspective of its time. Best interpreters, in his view, see the big picture, the broader perspective, how the parts fit the whole. Basic principles are fundamental, but the methods of living them must evolve.
He notes that acceptable behavior evolves with understanding, and historical context is key to interpreting Scripture. The central question he poses for any teaching is it still applicable, useful, practical, and based on fundamental principles? If not, discard or update it.
His personal struggle lies with religious laws that exclude others, or exude an air of superiority, stating plainly, "My God is no better than anyone else's God." He seeks commonalities and first principles shared by all religions.
Skepticism and questioning are seen not as antithetical to faith, but potentially foundational.
Yeah, Oscar Wilde says skepticism is the beginning of faith, and Georg Christoph Lichtenberg suggests the first step of wisdom is questioning everything, the last is coming to terms with everything.
God is discussed with varied definitions, from supreme reality to a pervasive universal life force. Pearl Bailey's quote, "People see God every day, they just don't recognize him," suggests the divine presence is often overlooked in the ordinary.
Like other sections, there are redefine it, prayer is, prayer isn't, and you redefine it, God is, God isn't. Exercises for personal reflection.
Talking about God is often awkward, isn't it? Why is that, according to the sources?
Because it's emotionally charged. Coach Ortiz feels it shouldn't be off limits, though. He wishes for real conversations with enlightened mentors, past, present, future, and for it to be less taboo to discuss inner turmoil, doubts, fears, and struggles, believing this open discussion leads to faster solutions and less suffering.
The don't knock it till you try it exercise encourages visiting various places of worship or spiritual gathering with an open mind and third eye seeking personal experience.
The Rainn source poses challenging questions about religious text laws, their expiration date, who best interprets, whether laws should evolve, how to handle teachings you can't grasp, and what you'd change about religion.
Coach Ortiz's single question for God is profound and pressing. Will the human race evolve to be truly benevolent, or will it lead itself to extinction driven by discord, hate, greed, and destruction? It frames humanity's future as a choice between evolution and self-destruction.
Heavy question. Do we need religion? Coach Ortiz believes we need the guiding fundamental principles inherent in all religions, but not the belief in a better God or actions taken in God's name that cause harm. The us versus them mentality is seen as detrimental. If forced to choose a religion, he'd pick one based on enlightened principles and open to evolution.
He believes a relationship with God is possible without organized religion.
Yes, if one is willing to listen, choose service, and be grateful. The Rainn questions about what you worship and how you show devotion prompt reflection on where your deepest values and energy lie.
Human origins and evolution are considered. Coach Ortiz sees humanity as having progressed by building on the wisdom of mentors and collective history, urging us not to be ignorant or selfish and to leave a positive legacy. Spiritual evolution is seen as a must to reach our full potential.
Science is seen as evolving with discovery. It could potentially bring us closer to or further from God, depending on interpretation. Coach Ortiz posits that evolution and creationism could be the same.
Interesting.
With science increasing our understanding of the past and vastness, helping us understand where we need to go. The story of creation needs updating as understanding grows. The Rainn source asks what science still fails to explain.
The Haiku Hereafter exercise offers a creative way to distill complex ideas about the afterlife. Coach Ortiz's example.
How I think and live determines my experience. Choose heaven, not hell. It directly links one's present state and actions to the experience of the hereafter.
Very direct. Okay, next we examine science and technology, tools for evolution, exploring how these forces shape our world and ourselves.
Innovation is defined not just as creating new ideas, but also making old ideas new, suggesting a process of rediscovery and application. Technology, the Rainn source states, needs to be infused with compassion to truly empower people and should be used to bring people together to build.
Thomas Jefferson is quoted, suggesting useful inventions ought to be tried, a pragmatic approach.
Yeah. Good communication is seen as essential for powerful ideas, including technological ones, to succeed. It keeps people together and focused, requires checking ego, listening hard, and allowing others to express themselves. Technology is viewed as a potential tool to evolve.
Coach Ortiz focuses his energy and time on savoring moments, owning the day, and improving himself to better serve others. His goal in daily conversations is to serve people.
What technology cannot replace is our connection to nature, the Earth's rhythm, and other organisms. While technology connects us with distant mentors and like-minded individuals, he feels it also makes us worse at focusing and listening to those physically present.
So how do we counteract that distraction?
By actively practicing creative listening, giving others your full attention.
Technology's greatest impact for him is what?
The sharing and coming together of ideas, allowing the application of old ideas and first principles on a grander scale.
Ensuring technology is used for good involves building good people who work for the greater good, providing widespread access to beneficial technologies, and constantly promoting and sharing good ideas.
Genetic engineering is discussed with caution. Coach Ortiz feels science should use it to fortify against disease and create better balance. However, attempting to change fundamental human traits beyond health or upsetting natural balance is seen as stepping on God's toes.
He would only consider changing his DNA to live better within his current potential, not to become smarter, more athletic, better looking, or live longer.
Right, noting that most people don't realize their full potential anyway. Genetic engineering, he stresses, cannot replace attitude, work ethic, or the ability to experience joy.
What's the difference between humans and animals, according to Ortiz?
Humans differ in their capacity to live inside their heads, planning, predicting, seeing problems and solutions, but they spend too much time there.
What should we learn from animals?
Balance, getting out of our heads, being more present, living in the moment, and reconnecting with nature. Basic needs are similar: food, clean water, shelter, an opportunity to prosper physically, mentally, emotionally. Neither humans nor animals are born knowing right from wrong. It is learned.
The Gyrate Your Genius exercise is a creative prompt to channel an inner inventor, sketching imaginative, even far-fetched, solutions to irritating problems.
Sounds fun. The mind's effect on health is highlighted. The mind absolutely affects our health. Think healthy thoughts. Cicero's quote reinforces this, stating diseases of the soul are more dangerous and numerous than those of the body.
Needs for physical, mental, and spiritual health are outlined. What are they?
Physical mental needs include positive social connection, good vibes drive, good food drink, movement, hygiene, rest recovery. Spiritual needs include quiet time for reflection listening, living creatively, doing for others, and practicing gratitude humility.
Harming the planet is seen as taking and using more than we need. Helping the planet involves
Planting, conserving, recycling, spending locally, and buying only what is needed or improves quality of life. Being a conscientious consumer.
exercises like paper repayment, planting a tree for every book, and tech detox, unplugging for a day, offer tangible ways to engage with environmental responsibility and mindful technology use.
Finally, progress is defined, encompassing forward movement, gradual betterment, development, and evolution. Quotes offer varied perspectives. Roosevelt links it to providing for those with little.
C.S. Lewis sees true progress on a wrong road as turning back.
And Scott Alexander views problems as landmarks of progress.
This section concludes with redefine it. Progress is living. And so we arrive now at our final section, life, death, and living, the purposeful journey, bringing many of these themes together.
Autobiographies often start with a significant turning point. Coach Ortiz offers potential opening lines for his life story, focusing on character and impact. He cared and he was helpful, he was friendly, he thought, he created, he saw problems as opportunities to help, he spoke the truth, but did so in a kind way.
Learning from the simple is key. There's always time to build a fort. 5 things to learn from a 5-year-old.
Curiosity, a beginner's mind, adventurous spirit, daily play, and exercising imagination to solve problems and create solutions. It's a callback to fundamental ways of being.
How to make the world less screwed up. Coach Ortiz offers a list of practical interpersonal actions.
Yeah, coming and going in peace, being a source of joy and understanding, smiling, using names, speaking softly, being a better communicator listener, offering a helping hand, sharing good ideas, and avoiding complaint, blame, sarcastic behavior.
Handling injury from others involves practicing forgiveness and sending loving kindness. He notes that being around buena gente, good people, significantly helps make life less screwed up.
Community service is presented as something that should be a rite of passage and a lifelong practice. Helping others is seen as fundamentally helping oneself. It is in helping that we are helped. Lewis Carroll echoes this sentiment, stating, "All that is really worth doing is what we do for others."
Avoiding toxins isn't just physical. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests avoiding mental emotional toxins like violent media, which waters own negative seeds. Patrick Stump adds, quiet is the new loud, implying a need to step away from constant stimulation.
The pint-sized protest exercise is a creative way to express values publicly through children carrying small message papers.
Quotes on living and dying offer different perspectives. Andy Dufresne's famous Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying, and Diane Ackerman's description of life as both savage and beautiful between mystery.
Knowing the exact moment of death, Coach Ortiz doesn't want to know for himself or loved ones. The focus should be on getting the most out of this life.
Caring for the soul as if dying tomorrow and the body as if living forever, that balance of urgency and long-term care.
Exactly. Things that should remain a mystery for him are humanity's greater and greater capacities for death and destruction. He doesn't want to know how much worse we could become.
How he wants to go when the time comes.
Wake up, attack the day, enjoy loved ones, help others, dance, laugh, cry, then go peacefully into that good night. His ideal last hour would be telling loved ones thank you and I love you, then walking into the sunset. It's about finding peace and connection at the end.
The experience he's most grateful for is his marriage to his wife, his soulmate, his biggest regrets.
Not having lived courageously enough and not being present for friends and his brother when they needed him.
He most reveres the legacy of his parents, grandparents, and great mentors. When he dies, he hopes the lessons he taught and the examples he set continue to illuminate the paths of those he impacted positively.
Maya Angelou notes that time itself is a gift we cannot influence, while Bertrand Russell offers that time enjoyed wasting is not wasted time.
Why the fear of death? Coach Ortiz attributes it to being hardwired for survival. His question for someone recently deceased is poignant.
Yeah. What's the best idea that you took with you to the grave that you wish you would have shared or pursued before you died? He doesn't want to live forever without an afterlife. His focus is on living better today. Edward Munch's quote about flowers growing from a rotting body offers a perspective on eternity through transformation.
The purpose of life for Coach Ortiz is to be an everyday hero.
Yes, a good example. Hard worker, creative, courageous, problem solver, truth teller, teacher, healer, helper, good listener, good friend, calm in the storm, having a positive impact on each soul encountered.
He believes purpose evolves with opportunities. Landing an ideal job is not achieving purpose.
Right. Bringing passion to the job and earning leadership through service and competence is achieving purpose. He notes that great mentors influenced his sense of purpose. Barack Obama's quote warns against focusing solely on making money, calling it a poverty of ambition that leaves one unfulfilled.
The Live a Little list provides 52 tangible, often challenging ways to engage with life more fully, from getting punched or telling a friend a difficult truth to simple acts like planting something, walking barefoot, or having a conversation with a homeless person. It's a concrete call to action to step outside comfort zones and experience life more deeply.
It really is.
Yeah.
Finally, success is defined with varied meanings and synonyms, encompassing outcomes, favorable results, attainment of wealth or eminence, or simply being someone who succeeds.
The quotes offer different angles. Oprah suggests success is doing your job without pay. Ralph Waldo Emerson defines it through things like laughing often, earning respect, leaving the world better, and making one life breathe easier.
So Ichiro Honda links success to 99% failure. Del Griffith points to balancing work and home success. Elliot Carver provocatively links insanity, genius, and success, suggesting success is the measure that determines which it was.
This final section, fittingly, ends with redefine it. Success is, success isn't, leaving you with the ultimate task of defining what a successful and meaningful life means in the context of all the ideas explored in these sources. Wow, that was quite a journey through these soul pancake reflections. We started with the fundamental nature of truth and the soul, explored the vital roles of creativity, navigated the complex landscape of our inner experiences and emotions, delved into the dynamics of relationships, grappled with virtues and vices, looked inward through introspection, contemplated God and religion in their evolving forms, considered science and technology as tools for progress, and finally reflected on life, death, and the continuous search for purpose. Whew.
It's a truly rich tapestry, isn't it? Blending deeply personal wisdom with broader philosophical and spiritual concepts, always circling back to practical application and the idea of living a meaningful life.
The theme of integration really stands out, that call to bring all these aspects of life, from work and faith to art and relationships, into a single coherent expression of who we are. It's not about keeping these areas separate.
No, it's finding how they intersect and inform each other.
And the sources aren't just theoretical, they're full of invitations to act. Trying some of the exercises, whether it's a soul scribble, popping your problems, a reverse pickpocket, or picking something from that Live a Little list, can transform these ideas from interesting concepts into lived experience for you.
Absolutely. We encourage you to revisit the ideas that resonated most strongly with you. What insights felt most surprising or challenging? What prompts you to think or act differently?
And as we conclude this deep dive, maybe consider this final thought woven through the sources we've explored. If, as Coach Ortiz suggests, your purpose evolves but fundamentally involves being a positive force, an everyday hero, striving to spread light and increase the good. And if the ultimate test of progress is, as Roosevelt is quoted, whether we provide enough to those who have little, how might you, in your unique context and through your own daily actions and choices, contribute to that collective evolution towards benevolence and the increase of good starting right now, even in small ways?
That feels like a perfect note to end on a call to action, rooted in the very essence of what these sources explore.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.